Attention shoppers, back-to-back blue light specials on aisle 57 and 58.
Welcome to Blue Light Special, the podcast for CPG brand marketers who want to lighten up their hustle in retail and real life. I'm Christine Wright.
And I'm Trevor Lewis. We're here to decode the mysteries of retail and give you some insider hacks to make your brand talk of the shelf. Let's get into this week's episode. Welcome. Let's get into this week's episode where we explore the sporting goods category with Charlie Fisher. I'm super excited to have him on after a bit. You know, he's currently with Lambkin Grips, which is a challenger brand in the grip category within golf. But, you know, he's led some phenomenal brands such as Golf Pride, Cobra, Titleist. And yeah, I think he's done it both on as well as on a global scale. So when you think about deploying solutions outside just North America and supporting those brands on a global stage, he's going to be able to come in and give us some insight. And I think we're going to have some really cool questions that you won't want to miss.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let's get into what's happening in our worlds. And since we're going to be talking to Charlie later, and he comes from the sporting goods category, I think what's happening in our world revolves around that. And IDD has a lot of history and experience in this space as far as sporting goods and outdoor. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of seasonality in it. And I know you've dealt with probably more so than I have, Trevor. So can you speak to kind of seasonality and things like that?
Yeah, the seasonality, they have a pretty diverse, channels that they sell through as well. So that always is, fun, but can create a challenge when you think about just visual merchandising, those different channels. I think the big thing here is the seasonality. There's a lot of different retailers that carry these products as well. So there's just a diverse and just retailers. But yeah, I think most of the time that I'm just generally passionate about the outdoor space as well.
Kind of an outdoorsman. So
I think
when we get samples, it's pretty cool.
Yes. Samples, being a part of the, kind of the front edge of new products being developed and new products being launched, and then seeing those. I know that our team gets excited about those as well. Because when you think about sporting goods as a category, I mean, it's a broad category.
It's very vast.
From trail cameras to fishing to hunting to outdoor to hiking to packing. I mean, it's
I've got scopes for guns, and I mean, I actually do have clients.
Yes, yeah.
that have this, but yes, it's a diverse mix,
and they're competing for a lot of the same attention. And so the sporting goods category has been a fun one to work in, not only just developing solutions, but also I have a passion for the outdoors, and a lot of our team does here as well. So we absolutely get excited when there's a new product that they're launching or a story they're trying to tell.
And with the seasonality just of that category in itself, that also brings seasonality of shows. There's always big, huge shows for this industry. I know SHOT Show is one of them.
SHOT Show, PGA merchandising show for the golf. There's a number of them. They have the outdoor retailer, both summer and winter sessions as well. So a lot of the brands will attend those. And so, yeah, they all have kind of their unique verticals in terms of the trade shows, but that's often one of the biggest events that's on their radar because that's when they are, visiting with merchant buyers and also showcasing, what new products are coming. Really within that year. So they tend to kind of be the first of the year, January, February, March. And it kind of sets the stage to what will be happening, what products you'll be seeing as a consumer inside those retailers.
Yeah, I know. We just did a bunch of packaging mock-ups for several shows for my sporting goods clients. And it was kind of a last minute thing, but it was a whole lot of versions, but they definitely needed it for those shows, and we knocked them out.
Yes. So,
one thing that I think that Charlie will probably speak to, if I know him well enough, is how difficult the category is as far as, and you said it a little bit earlier, just the diversity of retailers that it spans, from mass to specialty to dealers. So what's your experience with that?
I think, and I'm sure that Charlie will be able to get into this a little bit or, down the road on the show, but you've got to think about the consumer that's visiting these is not the same, right? There could be, if it's, as Charlie looks at it in golf, sometimes there's just the rec golf person. That would be myself, right? Hey, there's a golf tournament and our company's going to participate and I'm showing up, right? And so, yeah, I may go and get a few things for golf just so that I have it, maybe a glove, but I'm going to rent the clubs or, whatever. So that's a different level of consumer. than someone who may go into a golf specialty store and look to have their grips refitted for the year because they're going to do it twice a year, and that's just what they do. That's going to be a different level of enthusiast. So when you think about deploying across all those channels, it's just unique when you think about who the consumer is, because it's not the same, and so you can't have a one-size-fits-all type of in-store strategy. All right, well, we're going to jump into our first segment, which is Show
Look
and
what
Tell.
I have got
With
for
Christine
you.
and I share our recent personal experiences in retail. Christine, I know you've seen and experienced something. It's baseball season, sporting season. So what's something that you've recently
It
experienced?
is baseball season, and I am probably in Dick's Sporting Goods more than I should be. I was supposed to be there today, but we're recording a podcast, so we'll be getting a new bat tomorrow. But I recently saw, and it wasn't in the Dick's that I went into. I wish it was, but I saw a post on LinkedIn where New Balance has this huge, it's not really a store within a store, but the set is platforms and pedestals and mannequins and shoe displays, and it's all lit up. There's backlit graphics, there's video. It's just not the norm that I would see taking up that much space in a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely have kind of recognized some of that trends. I know that when you was speaking of this trend, you shared some of that, just some of the visuals with me, and yeah, I mean it's an immersive experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's typically right in that focal area. As soon as you walk through those front doors, is how do we captivate them and make sure that they're you may pass through it, but you're definitely going to see it and recognize it. And so I sense that more people are going to be looking at how can we create especially if you have multiple SKUs, right? If you have one SKU, it's like, hey, let's just introduce that one SKU to them. But if there's a bunch of different SKUs being represented, I think the brand that I did see had, I'm assuming, more than one SKU, or was trying to tell a story outside of more than just one audience.
Yes.
And so they leaned into that immersive experience. And yeah, I think I've seen Peloton do some of this as well. You've seen it in different, smaller activations, but that one was grand. That one's like, yeah, you didn't go to that store and not experience that.
Right.
And I think that's what brands are trying to lean into.
Yeah, and I really was kind of shocked that it was New Balance, because really when we go in there, the first thing my kid goes to is Nike.
Yep.
And you'd think Nike would be doing it, but this is the way New Balance was making their presence known. And I will say, we walked out of there earlier this year with New Balance turf cleats, and he loves them. So it worked.
All right, and as we jump into the Herd on the Street segment of the show, this is working beside Christine as well as with retailers and brands on the daily. We are in the know when it comes to trends. So I know you mentioned, and it's a bit of a trend with the immersive activations, but what's another trend that you're seeing day to day?
A trend I'm seeing, and again, I'm staying within the sports and outdoor category, is a lot of modularity. And I think that, again, plays into you're trying to cover so many diverse retailers that you might have a large set in mass, but how can I size that down and still get economies of scale with that display program sized down to fit a specialty retailer? So that modularity, and we see it a lot with pet too, but it plays in a lot with sports and outdoor.
Yeah, certainly. And so those of you that might not know exactly what we're kind of speaking to with the modularity, it's how do you take, an end cap display that may be launched inside of a more of a mass retailer, which that really just, implies a significant amount of doors. And they may have specific requirements of what their display has to look like and function like. But then can you take certain components of that or certain elements of that and provide that to another retailer? And so that's where you kind of get this modular, functionality. I'd say the other thing that's just a trend staying in the sporting goods category is it's very much seasonally, a seasonal purchase by and large when you think of just sporting goods. And so just working with one of our working and then consulting with a couple of clients in the trail cam category. Overall, the trail camera category sales has been slightly down. And so what this has buyers and asking their suppliers is, hey, can we expand that promo period? So instead of doing it, say, in June, can we start a few months earlier and basically extend that? So just because it's featured, because it's a seasonal product, meaning that it does have some year-round usage, but within this season, it's going to be top of mind. And so with it in the trail cameras, that tends to be around hunting season. So that's a fall. So that's what they're coming back to those suppliers and brands and saying, hey, we're going to give you this space longer. But in return, what that means the brands have to do is speed up, speed up, because they want to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. They're going to get that space for a longer period of time.
Yes. But that's just something to do with the category being down. And so that's where, the retailer's looking at what can we do to help this in this category. And that's just one of the things that we're seeing as a recent trend there in the sporting goods. Folks, today we'd like to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, Charlie Fisher to the show. Christine, as we bring Charlie on, I feel like I need to be that 90s Chicago Bulls starting lineup announcer where you're from North Carolina at
Isn't
guard.
it like dark and like lights flash and stuff? Yeah.
Yes. But next up, again, Charlie has impacted some phenomenal brands. I'm sure we'll get into some of those, from Golf Pride to Titleist to Cobra to Lambkin. His leadership has propelled these brands into unparalleled success. So get your popcorn ready as we dive right in. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate you all having me on today.
Awesome. Well, we're going to jump right in. So one of the first questions that I know our audience, who is mostly made up of kind of the next gen brand managers, will get some insight from is this first question, which is, how do you create memorable retail experiences that drive awareness and sales?
Yeah, that's something that's really, I feel like every time I've approached an opportunity, I always think of two things, right? The actual environment in which that we're trying to create the experience in, right? So that can change from store to store. And the golf case, I'm holding a golf grip here, but in the golf grip case, a grip can be sold in many places, right? It can be sold at the golf course and can also be sold at a national retail chain like Dick's Sporting Goods, Golf Galaxy, PGA Tour Superstore. So really, and the customers that shop at each are completely different. And so, for instance, at a green grass shop, it's going to be probably way more simple, going to probably have less explanation because the golf professional staff is probably going to be more engaged at the golf course with the customer. They're not going to have to, they're going to be approached. Whereas at a national retail store, there may be less interaction only because of the size and scope of the store. So we might need more help along that consumer journey, right? So it's really going to depend upon the retail environment and then also the level of customer. So at a general sports store, you're probably going to have a less informed customer than a guy who's showing up at the golf course or a golf specific store. So that would apply to any industry. But in my golf world, that's how I've done it. But is really try to focus on thinking about the environment of which the product's going to live.
Awesome. And so just to give a little context to green grass, because I know that we're pretty familiar with it. Obviously, you're familiar with it, but those that may not be listening may not be as familiar with the term green grass. So just give that a little context, because I think they're probably familiar with some of the other terms like mom and pop or independent.
No, that would definitely apply to. So when I think of green grass, that's the actual golf course. So the place where you actually play golf, or a driving range where you actually go to interact, versus an actual like retail shopping experience where you may go inside and hit a few golf balls and test out equipment in a hitting bay. But the golf course, the green grass golf course, that's what we consider the golf course. That's where the golf is actually played. And so the staff, and both places have extremely knowledgeable staff, but the interaction is going to be different. Your size of display, like in retail, for instance, Trevor, we may have the product actually displayed on the floor in a basket. You certainly have helped. We've talked a lot about how product can be displayed in different ways, angled at different angles to gain attention. Whereas we're probably going to have more samples displayed on rods or sticks for golf grips per se. So, which is my most, obviously the thing I've been most attached to here, at least recently.
Awesome. Well, a lot of great nuggets there on that first question. So just a quick, kind of recap of the question, which was, how do you create memorable retail experiences that drive awareness and sales? Charlie just gave us some definitely some good insight. I'm going to jump right into the next question, which is the buyer merchant relationship. So I know that you have a lot of expertise in this, Charlie. I know that we're continuously seeing quite a bit of change in that buyer merchant. Just who those individuals are. There tends to be some new blood that's kind of entering that role. And so help us kind of understand what are some of the tips or what are some of the things you've done to drive a better in-store placement, and how do you pitch what are maybe one or two of your cool ideas that has resonated well with the buyer in the kind of the pitch phase?
I think of it this way. I think of like what I have to be coming from the mindset of trying to solve the buyer's problem. The buyer is only going to buy what we're able to sell, right? And that's the brand's, role is to help move that product for them. So they're looking at numbers and they're judging, they're judging in terms of our ability to put more product in the stores, or the ability to, give us a wider assortment of product by how fast it's moving through. And they're not necessarily thinking about how it's merchandised or not. So that's my job, is to actually solve the problem for them, bring them a solution to maybe a problem they don't even, recognize they have. And so maybe it's not moving slow because it's not positioned well. I think of, we've certainly partnered on a program before where, a 800 store program, and the product was literally sitting on a shelf with no signage for just even brand, not talking about the product, but just here as a company, as a brand, we're spending a lot of money on marketing to drive people to the store to actually make the purchase. The consumer's going in the store and, they're looking around. They don't see our brand name up on a wall anywhere. They don't even know where the category lives, the full category. So, I think that's where, and especially having worked for category leaders, right? Like part of your job, a rising tide lifts all boats. And so part of our job, part of the sell-in, the solve for them is, hey, listen, if we can draw people to the category in the store where they know where to find it the minute they walk back into that section, not only are we going to do better as a brand and be able to help with, increased sell-through, but the whole category is going to do better. And so again, thinking of how can I solve this problem that they don't even know that they have? They're not thinking about it. Really, and then beginning with the end in mind in terms of what does great look like? Giving mock-ups, that's super important, of painting the picture for them. Telling them isn't really helping them, but helping them to see it. Prototyping, hey, come make some store walks with me to the buyer. And when you're able to get them, you have a prototype piece of equipment and you're able to actually get them in the store and show them how merchandising can live, or how better product promotion can live, like it's going to happen. I no guarantees, but I feel like you have a better chance of it happening in that case.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a lot of great nuggets there, which is, and again, we've shared this stat before, is that just the visual component, I think, is like 60% of decision processes evaluated through just visuals and understanding that piece of it. And so leaning into that with mock-ups of not only just are you verbally stating what you plan to do and how to drive sell-through, but then visually showcasing how the brand may show up on shelf or in a floor standing, or how can it be on slat wall and position there as well? So I think that's a trend we're seeing as well. Are there any other just aha moments that you've had along your career journey when you think of just that buyer, merchant relationship and, different tactics or things that you've done?
Yeah. I feel like the biggest aha moments, well, I'll give you a specific one. One where they wanted to be brand agnostic. And they were very adamant in all elements of the store of how to be, and so again, that was like, okay, wow, here's a whole new challenge for me. And I still have to think about the fact that maybe we're not going to get the positioning and brand name that we want, to call out our brand. But again, we can take care of that in the back end. The brand just needs to be better positioned. So again, how can I solve the overall merchandising problem for so that the category does better? And innately, the brand will do better as a result of the category having more attention, being better merchandised. So again, solving the problem for them. They're not thinking about that. They're looking at numbers on an Excel sheet, or through Power BI or SPS.com or something like that. So
awesome. Well, again, thanks for your insight on that one. We're going to jump right into the next one as well, which is I think we all are curious of what your response is going to be on this one.
I want to know this one.
Which is, how do you ask for more budget?
Well, I think two things. One, when you can partner, when you have a good enough relationship with your partner, and they're asking for it. You've proven your case. I hate to say that I do this, but if you can get the customer commitment first before you go and ask for more budget, it's always a heck of a lot easier to say, hey, listen, so. Yeah, and that's not taking a, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission mindset. It's really not. But I think when you really start again with the customer in mind and you're solving their problem, second, is it right for the business? And if you're doing the right thing for the long term of the business, you can't go wrong. If it's merchandising, if it's positioning, if it's anything that's going to help better position the brand, and then have a long-term ROI. That's it's a hard problem for smaller businesses. I currently work for a challenger brand, and whereas every dollar through the marketing budget counts. And we've certainly partnered on different pilot programs, and they've had to sit in the store sometimes for 3 to 6 months. That feels like forever in retail, right? Like where we're trying to I'm trying to show here's the benefit of it, right? But so ROI truly does matter. We have to see increased sell through, and we have to. But if the partner is on board and they're willing to give you the space, it's a heck of a lot easier to say we have this commitment from the customer. They're willing to position our brand this way. I've had more success doing that. And then does it make sense for the overall business in a year to 2 to 3 years from now, and especially depending upon what sort of merchandising or visual merchandising we're putting in the store.
Well, again, some extremely valuable tips there. I think that we'll definitely be able to take some away from that for sure. I'm gonna ask. I don't know that I put this question down, but I'm gonna ask a bonus question. I hope you're up for it, which is, Charlie, as you know better than anyone, it takes a lot of the right partners to assist with developing the right in-store strategy, as well as then the execution of it. You've kind of alluded to some of those different arenas through design development, concept engineering, prototyping, production, store execution. And I know that most of the brands leverage and tap in, especially kind of post pandemic, is whether it's a consultant who has a level of expertise that's unique that you're trying to tap in or rent, or if it's an agency that you're asking to come in and kind of assist you in different arenas. Help us kind of understand what's your best tips, if there's one or two out there, for someone who may be evaluating an agency or evaluating a new partnership. What is the right ones, or what are the right characteristics that you look for in those partners?
Yeah, I think somebody who's extremely, from my end, in every relationship that I'm in, is level of responsiveness. If somebody's slow to respond, I mean, there's no question. I'm probably hyper about it. In terms of if I get an email or something from a customer specifically, or from somebody on my team, being responsive. So having a partner that's going to respond, even if they don't have the answer, that they're going to get back and say, I'm working on it. Second piece is that you give them something perhaps that is less complicated. And I don't know that you have to, what I mean by that is maybe an existing project where it's like, here's what I'm currently doing. What would you do to modify it? Can you prototype some stuff, and let's get some estimated costs on what we're doing. And I think I think where, and you know me well enough, I feel like transparency on the side of the brand that's seeking the agency of like, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's my budget. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Can you do it? And if the agency says, you know what, I don't think I can do it, I actually really appreciate that. Like, I can't do it within that budget, based on these specs. So just the pure, but here's what I can do, and then offer other solutions. That's so important. You don't want, and we've all, if anybody who's been doing this for any amount of time, yes, I can do it. And then you come in over budget, and you come in over budget, and you come in over budget multiple times over. And then not only that, I've wasted a lot of time. You've wasted time prototyping. Not you per se, but I'm saying they've wasted time trying to prototype something that's just, they're never going to get the cost out of it. And, so I think just the transparency, the honesty, this isn't within my capabilities. I'm going to have to source this out. If somebody's willing to tell me all that stuff on the front end, they have a really good chance of moving forward with me. Because finding an agency is difficult, and the time that it takes to bring a project to life, especially, when, oh, this just popped up, we've got to do a quick fall launch and it's in 3 to 6 months. I need a solution. How am I going to present it at retail? You don't always have that 18 to 24 month, pipeline of product that you're working on and planning for. That's not realistic in today's world, especially at the speed of technology and innovation. You have to be pretty quick to come up with a merchandising solution, and you need a partner that can say, I can do it or I can't do it. And let's not spin a lot of wheels, because you don't want to waste anybody's time.
Awesome, my man. Thank you, thank you for just coming in and sharing some of that wisdom. I know that design display. We also appreciate to be able to share some of that insight to our audience as well. We're not done with you quite yet, though, Charlie.
It's my turn.
I'm gonna turn it over to Christine, and she's gonna bring you the lightning round.
The lightning round is something we ask all of our guests to participate in, so you kind of knew that this was coming. So first question, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
What's one new brand you recently purchased and why?
I am. I am what I would say. I'm cost conscientious. I won't call myself cheap or frugal. I'll say I'm cost conscientious. So I did recently buy a Concept 2 rower. I did buy it used. Now, Concept 2, part of the reason, obviously, row machine, like a workout machine. Obviously, it's known for its quality. It's kind of the standard of workout, full body workout. Bought it, Concept 2, trust the name. I had to do it. I did buy it used. I'm not going to lie.
Was it a good purchase?
Oh my gosh! I mean, for the last month, it's been amazing. So yeah, I'm sore. I've already got my heart rate up just thinking about it right now. So.
All right, next question. What's one thing you've bought on TikTok or Instagram?
Oh, well, how about because of TikTok or Instagram? I hate to say this. I don't hate to say it. I love Costco, and this whole Kirkland brand stuff that people. I'm at the age range too where they're targeting and memeing people like me, but I've bought some clothes from Costco, Kirkland brand recently, so, and it's because of some of these like Costco follows that I have. So.
All right. Well, what is one piece of technology that you can't live without?
I mean, I think probably like most people, my iPhone.
Yeah, that was my answer when I got asked. Yeah,
no question.
Definitely. What's something you learned the hard way?
Everything. I mean, I feel like everything. Nothing. I don't feel like anything's been the easy way. That's for gosh darn sure. I think from the thing that I've learned probably the hard way is just not everybody is wired the way that I am, and I think leveling my communication style, and then I want to say tempering my passion and enthusiasm for whatever it is that I'm doing, but realizing that it can come across as intense to some people at times, and so my communication, working on that constantly, whether it's speaking to an audience of people who don't speak English, or it could be talking to team members who definitely are more methodical and aren't as fast paced and as I am. I'm ready to go all the time. So really thinking about the way that I speak and understanding my audience, even changing sometimes the words that I use. Because it hasn't always worked. That's been hard for me. I like can't you get it? Like, did you not hear it? I said it. And so thinking about not being as effective, I should say, that's been something, and spent years not being effective because of my communication style.
What's the worst career advice you've ever been given?
I don't want to say that it's the worst career advice that I've ever been given, because I don't think any advice is bad. Right? You can learn something from everyone, but I think I'm going to rephrase this. The worst thing somebody's told me in my career is that I couldn't do something, or that I didn't necessarily have the capability or the skill set. And certainly has added to a positive chip on the shoulder of helping me to be more productive and using that as fuel. So I won't call it bad career advice. If anything, it's helped me. It's helped me to be better.
It's motivating. Where do you go to consume information to do your job better?
Everywhere. I do feel like, especially as it pertains to marketing, but YouTube has endless amounts of information out there. And then I would say that, with all the free webinars and everything else that's out there, podcast, I do listen to a ton of podcasts. That's why I love so much what you're doing. And then, obviously follows, on Instagram and social media. So I have a pretty boring follow list. It's not the most exciting. I don't know that I follow A-list celebrities, but as many as I probably should. But I do follow a lot of more career minded things. LinkedIn Learning, I think is really a great platform as well. So.
Okay, well, last question. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Oof, it's going to be okay. You're going to be all right.
Good.
Calm down,
Love it.
settle in,
Calm down.
calm down a little bit, settle down. It's going to be all right. And I think, from my end, and I was about 25 or 26, I read Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. That was probably one of the most impactful books in my life. So I read it about that age, maybe 26. So I would have told, don't forget to read this book next year. That's what I would tell him.
Awesome, my man. Again, thank you so much. Yeah, you're free now, but sincerely, we appreciate your insight, wisdom, and definitely excited to. While the show's over, we're definitely excited to continue to follow your journey, Charlie. But again, thank you. And for our last segment today, we want to give you a little glimpse into our own minds. We all have those moments where we reflect, learn, and remind ourselves of certain truths. For me, it's a memo to myself, and for Christine, it's her I am of the day. It's a chance for us to be a bit vulnerable, share our thoughts, and maybe some of it will resonate with you. So for today, I actually, and being a Chiefs fan and a Patrick Mahomes fan,
just a small one.
I'm sure that this may shock some people, but I actually really like Tom Brady, and I like a lot about.
He has a good story.
His story, his mindset. I'm sure he's not perfect, so I'm not saying I try to, do every single thing that he does. But I actually heard what I'm about to share, and it resonated, and so I've been continuously kind of telling myself this. And so what he said was. The fish just doesn't jump in the boat, meaning you better go out there and do it yourself. Don't wait around for someone to hand deliver something to you. You got to make it happen. Fish don't just jump in the boat. If you ever want to go catch him, go catch him. Throw the line in the water and go do some work. And I think that that's something that resonated with me a lot. And I think it's something that can be applied to both your professional and personal. Obviously, I have, I've stated this many times, a young daughter that I know is observing my own behavior. And so I think it's important for her to show I'm big on health, but I want her to be big on health. And I have to show her, right? I got to go do the work and show her. So that was my memo to myself today, which is go fishing.
Yes, go fishing. Well, my I am for the day comes from I have a group of accountability partners, and every morning we text each other and say, what are you today? And today, mine didn't come to me right at drinking coffee time, but it came to me in a morning meeting. And my I am for the day is joyful because I had a meeting with a new client. I didn't even know who she was. It was just like an inbound lead, and she was late. But she got on the phone or got on our meeting, and she was just the most positive person. She apologized. She appreciated our time. And then she kind of went into this spreading joy and being joyful. And that's why she was the way she was. And it just uplifted the whole meeting. You would have forgotten that she even came late. And it went past the 30 minutes that it was supposed to go past. But just because she brought the whole joy aspect and being joyful, regardless of being late or forgot about the meeting or whatever it was, that was my I am statement for the rest of my day.
Love it. Yeah, I think those moments can be infectious for sure. And, enthusiastic people, passionate people, or just joyful people.
It's contagious.
It's contagious,
yes,
right? You
yes.
you enjoy it. You're able to continue to, you embrace it, enjoy it. And then it's like, hey, yeah, let's figure out how to collaborate. So appreciate you sharing that with us. All right. Well, that concludes our episode for today. We're certainly grateful to have you along for the ride as we lighten up your hustle through retail and real life.
Thanks for listening, and keep your questions and comments coming. We love tuning in to what you want to know about helping your brands stand out in store. Please like and share the podcast. We appreciate your help getting the word out about Blue Light Special. Finally, join us for next week's episode where we will dig into POP signage and temporary displays with our resident expert, Martha 2C, who I am sure is absolutely thrilled that we have.
We have enough time.
I told her we're not going to talk about all the people that we know from working together.
Awesome.
I have another good friend, and again, a guy he says the fish just don't jump in the boat. Meaning you better go out there and do it yourself. Don't f***ing wait around and wait for someone to hand deliver something. Go make it happen. The fish don't just jump in the boat. If you want to go catch them, go catch them. Throw that line in the water and go do some work. And if it doesn't work that day, do it again the next day. So, and I think the procrastination, that's probably not good for any of us. I think we want to go out there and do it, go out there and make it happen.
Some days it gets tough.
It does.
Some days it gets tough.
And I think a part of it, that noble mentality is, f*** your tired body, f*** that unmotivated mind, and get out there and do it anyway. You better fight yourself, because you're not only winning when things are going your way. You got to figure out how to win when things aren't going your way. You got to figure out when your body's fighting you, when your mind's fighting you. How do you still, just say, F it, I'm gonna beat my mind today? Or do you just give in to your mind and say, I'm tired today, I'm lazy, I don't want to do it, it's too hard, no one else is doing it, it's a weekend, it's too late, these are already off hours, exactly what I want isn't happening right now. Like, okay, great. You know who that's great for? Your competition.
This podcast is a production of In-Store Design Display, the go-to expert for guiding and elevating your in-store experience. Our wordsmith, Julie Edge, and mix master, Jackie Barra, make all of this possible. So a big thanks to them and the entire team at In-Store Design Display.
Stay tuned for our next episode on YouTube or wherever you consume podcasts. We'd love to hear from our listeners, so please drop us a line and tell us what you want to hear about retail and real life.